everyone, welcome back to Youth Online. So lovely as always to have you joining us here at Youth Online. Just a really quick reminder, we are doing things back in person now, so if you ever want to join us in person, it would be a pleasure to have you. It is not too late. Let me know if you need any of the details. I'll leave my email address here on the screen. Any questions, shoot them my way. We are going to start this morning with a worship song as always.
Nothing to fear now, for I am safe with you. So when I fight on my knees with my hands lifted high. Oh God, the battle belongs to you. Every fear I lay at your feet. I'll sing through the night. The battle belongs to you. And if you are for me, who can be against me? For Jesus, there's nothing impossible. You go before us. Nothing can stand against the power of our God. You shine in the shadow. You win every battle. Nothing can stand against the power of our God. An almighty fortress. You go before us. Nothing can stand against the
So guys, from this week onwards, we are going to be looking at something called the fruits of the Spirit. And it is found in Galatians chapter 5, which is a book of the Bible in the New Testament. And it's a guy called Paul that wrote this book to a church in Galatia. And we are going to be looking at what it means, what the fruits of the Spirit means, what they mean kind of individually. There's 9 of them, so we are going to be delving into kind of what each 9 looks like and how it affects us in our daily life. And I have a little prop with me. I have a beautiful like lettering of each of the fruits of the Spirit that a friend did for me, which is very kind. So there's 9 of them, so these are 9 that we are going to be going through. I'm super excited about it. I love learning about the fruits of the Spirit, so I hope you will join me in that excitement. We are going to be doing 3 a week because there is 9 and it fits quite nicely with what we're going to be doing over the next few weeks. So I hope you can follow along. What I'm going to be doing in person is having a little bit more practical activity that unfortunately you guys online can't be involved with, but I hope that kind of the things that we touch on, the verses that we get to share with you, I hope it makes you feel included and that you get to learn a little bit of how you can live out the fruits of the Spirit. Without further ado, I'm going to crack on. So, what are the fruits of the Spirit? So as I said, we are looking at Galatians 5 and it's verse 22 to 23, and it says, "But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control." Quite often we look at the fruits of the Spirit of how to be a better person. They're all lovely descriptive words of how we want to live out our life. What sometimes we can forget is the whole idea of the fruit of the Spirit is we need the Spirit in order to live out those fruits. And that's what we're really going to be looking at here on Youth Online and Youth in Person, is just how can we actually get closer to Jesus so that we can bear this fruit. Those things might not come very naturally to us, and that's why we need Jesus, and in his strength we can better ourselves in all those areas. So don't worry if all those words sound a little bit far away from where you're at. You might not have great patience with your siblings, you might not have great joy all the time, but we're going to look at what they mean and how we can best live them out through Jesus' strength, not our own. So the first one we are going to look at today is love. And I want you to have a little think about, what does love mean? What does it mean to love someone? Maybe even have a look at some of the things that you would say you love. I love pizza. I love watching Netflix. I love going for a walk on the beach. There's a lot of things that I love doing. There's a lot of people I love that I would say that I love. I love my family. I love my husband. I love my friends. I love the people I go to church with. There are so many people that I love. And I want to have a look at what does it mean to love. So there is a verse in 1 Corinthians 13. We're going to look at a few verses there, and it's all about what is love. And I'm going to read that now. So it says, "Love is patient, love is kind, it does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud, it does not dishonor others, it is not self-seeking, it is not easily angered, it keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, and always perseveres. Love never fails." And I don't know about you, but that just sounds really beautiful, doesn't it? And a lot of those words we're actually going to be looking at over the next few weeks, because the way love is described is the nature of the fruits of the Spirit, which I think is so interesting and not at all a coincidence. So we're going to have a look at those kind of over the next few weeks of what does it mean to truly love. If we think love is patience, what does that look like? If we think love is kind, what does that look like? I'd love for you guys just to have a self-reflection on this. How can you love this week? Bearing in mind that that is what love looks like. How can you love your friends? How can you love your family better this week, knowing that that is how we are called to love? The next word we are looking at today is joy. Guys, what do you think joyful means? It's a big one, right? A lot of us consider and kind of interchange the word joy and happiness, and they are slightly different, I promise. Happiness is quite often our circumstance, right? If something is going well, then I will be happy. Joy, on the other hand, joy is something that we get from God and is not based on our circumstance. Actually, there is a verse in James 1 verse 2 that says, "Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance." What? How can we be joyful when we are facing trials of many kinds? Not even just one trial, of many kinds. Joy and happiness are very different, and sometimes it can be really hard to find joy. Now, what I love is that we aren't called to be joyful beings in and of our own strength. Like we said, the fruits of the Spirit are something that God can help us, and we can get closer to bearing those fruits through Jesus. So I want you guys to remember this week, joy is not based off of circumstance, but actually it's almost a behavior that you can create, and a joy that is found in Jesus. It is an ongoing, a life-giving joy that even when you're not having a great day, you can still be joyful. Even when things aren't going right, you can still find joy in Jesus. And I hope that gives you comfort when you go through trials and difficulty and things that aren't so nice. And the last word we are talking about today is peace. And what does peace look like? What does peace mean? We quite often do a little bit of that, and we would call that peace, right? But we are looking at what the Bible has to say about peace. And peace is something that we would describe as kind of harmonious. And that's a big word, and sometimes we don't always understand what it means. But in the Bible it says, Philippians 4:7, "And the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus." And what that kind of means is sometimes you have this overwhelming feeling. Sometimes peace is a feeling, and it, like it says, which surpasses all understanding. We can't comprehend it, we can't understand it, we can't always put our finger on what that means, but we can have a peace from God that is so overwhelmingly wonderful, but doesn't always make sense to us. And the other thing I just want us to reflect on with peace is that peace can be described as kind of like a state of appreciation and faith. Proverbs 3:5 says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding." How wonderful is it that we don't have to figure out life. We have a wonderful God who gives us peace through taking on the battle, taking on the difficulty. He takes that over for us so we don't have to go through it. And when we talk about having peace as a fruit of the Spirit, it is something that when we get closer to Jesus, that we can start to bear more out on our fruits on the tree, if you will. We can start to bear that more and more, this peace that we have in our lives because we lean and trust on God. What I want you guys to remember is these aren't things to make us better people. These are things that we get when we lean on God and draw closer to God. So we can love better when we lean on God, and we can feel God's love. We can feel joy even in the trickiest situations. And remember, that's not happiness. Joy is different, but we can feel more joy when we are closer to God. And finally, we get to feel greater peace when we are closer to God, because we know who's in control and who has it. We are going to be posting stuff out on social media that kind of help wrap up what each of these fruits of the Spirit means. So do keep your eye out on there if you want to have a look. We'll be sending out links as well via email this week and the weeks going forward, so do make sure you check that out. Pester mum and dad to go and have a look at their emails. It has been lovely discussing with you guys the fruits of the Spirit. If you ever want to have a chat about what any of these three mean, like I say, you can always email me. I'll put it here on the screen again. And I hope you guys have an amazing week, but I'm going to leave you with our last worship song today. So I hope your week is wonderful, and I look forward to seeing you next Sunday. Bye.